I had three sisters. My sister Rita is a year younger than I am, and she was born in Detroit also. And then my sister Mary, she's 2 years younger than I am, and she was born in Detroit too. And then my sister Betty is 5 years younger than I am, and she was born in Detroit. And we were all there, and when I was 6, we moved back to Hoosick Falls, New York. And then we could go to, I was in first grade, and you could go to first grade when you were 5. And so my mother put Rita in the first grade with me, and we went all the way through high school together. My mom's mother. The one that we lived in when we first moved there was 312 12th Street Northeast, 1934. The one we first lived in was like a flat. We lived up on the second floor, and we had 2 bedrooms and a little room. We had 2 double beds in the room, and 2 of us slept in each bed. And I slept with my sister Betty, and Mary and Rita slept together. And then that little room, we had a single bed in there, and my grandmother came to live with us, and she lived there, and she slept in that room. That was that house. And when we moved to Connecticut Avenue, well, they changed it. I'm not sure what it would be now, but it was 6804 Connecticut Avenue. Just Connecticut Avenue, because it was in Maryland. It was on the right-hand side of the street and going north near the Columbia Country Club. When we moved to Connecticut Avenue, we had a living room, dining room, kitchen, and a den on the first floor, and then we had a screened-in porch off the living room. And upstairs we had 3 big bedrooms upstairs. Rita was married before we moved there. So Mary and I had the front bedroom, and then Patty Colson came to live with us, and she and Betty had the back bedroom, and my mother and father had the front one, which was a big one. Went almost all the way across the front of the house. So then when my father died, we put 2 double beds in my mother and father's room, and I slept in there with my mother. And Mary and Jimmy came to live with us, and they had the front bedroom in there, and then Patty and Betty had the other bedroom. So we had 2 baths upstairs and a half a bath downstairs. And we had a nice basement with a bar and all. It was nice down there. Rita was smart, a lot smarter than the rest of us, I think, but she was smart, and she was a good kid. She was always the tallest one in the family. She was taller than all of us. We were all more the same size, and she was taller. And she had a pretty good personality, but if she got mad, watch out. And Mary, she was Spitfire-like. And Betty, she was the sweetest little thing. She still is to this day. She's still very sweet and mild and you know, like that way. Rita was my best friend, of course, all through school. And then she got married, and then Mary and I became very good friends, but Betty was always in there close, too. Well, then I worked with Mary and you know, at the ballpark, and she did, and then she married Jimmy, and of course we were always together, Mary and I were. My mother was waiting to get milk because she had a baby she had to feed, and she was waiting for milk, and my father hadn't gotten home yet, so she asked Rita and I to go to the store. Now, the milk came in glass bottles, and Rita and I went down to the store, which we were 5 and 4, and we went. It was about a half a block away. We went down to that store and bought the milk for her, and on the way home, I had one bottle in my hand, and Rita had the other, and we came home, and as we crossed the street, there was a Tin Lizzie, you know, those old-fashioned cars coming up, and I'm looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and I didn't see the curb, and I tripped and fell, and that's how I got my scar on my head. The milk bottle cut me in my head. And Rita started running home with the bottle in her hand, you know, and my father saw her coming, and he ran to the front door to tell her stop running with the bottle, and when he opened the door, there I stood with blood from head to toe all over me. And he said, oh, they had a hard time. They finally had to take me to the hospital, and they put stitches in it. But boy, they did a bad job of. I had a big scar when I was a kid. That was horrible looking. To be perfectly honest, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like school, but I went to St. Gregory's in Detroit, and then I went to St. Mary's in Hoosick Falls, and we moved to Pittsfield, and I went to Crane School there, to Hoosick Falls, and we came down to Washington. I went to Edmonds School and to 6th grade, and then I went to Stewart Junior High, and then St. Cecilia's I went to and graduated from there.
What's your favorite subject?
Shorthand and typing. My least favorite was Latin, and I didn't care much about math either, or English. I liked recess the best and lunch. I participated in basketball when I was in high school. Yeah, I was on the team, and so was Rita. But every time I was a guard, and we only played half court,
How tall are you?
I was 5'2", and they'd come to me and they'd say, "Hey, Torp, all the forwards are tall. You want to sit this one out?" I said, "Yeah, I'll sit this one out." So next thing I know, I'm sitting on the bench, and Dad says to me, "After 2 years, why didn't you give it up?" So I did. I used to love to go to the movies. Well, we played a lot of cards. My father liked to play cards, and we played a lot of cards, and I can't stand cards now. Every Sunday afternoon, we played around the kitchen table. We had them every Saturday. We had something to do, and we had to take turns cleaning the vestibule as you came in the door downstairs, and it was all tile, and we had to take turns, and we had to scrub it on our hands and knees. I hated doing that. And then another one was, dusting and cleaning down the steps, and I did most of the dusting and running the vacuum upstairs. We had to do dishes. We had to clean the bathroom. We had to take turns cleaning the bathroom. We only had one. And, of course, do the dishes. We had a pulley that you used to put the wash on out so it would go outside. We'd have to bring the clothes in off the pulley, sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. I tell you how much we got allowance. First we got 10 cents a week, and it cost 10 cents to go to the movies, and the movies was right around the corner from us. So Dad would say, if you want to go to the movies, you got to spend your 10 cents. So we'd go around and spend our 10 cents, and we'd have anything. and then when we got into high school, we got a quarter. And if you wanted to buy a Coke or something after school, you had to use that, and they were 5 cents the Cokes were. We had to use our quarter and keep that, and then if we wanted to go to the movies, we had enough to go to the movies. They used to make fun of our clothes all the time because they had more money than we did. And I think that's why I've been obsessed with clothes, because I was made fun of so much. We were poor, if you want, really kind of poor. During the Depression, it was bad, and my father was out of work, and it was really bad. And so my Uncle Larry and my Uncle Jim would drive up from Hoosick Falls to Pittsfield, which is about an hour or so away, and they'd bring us chickens. They'd kill chickens and bring the chickens all cut up to us, and they'd bring everything out of the garden, corn, tomatoes, green beans, all that kind of stuff, cucumbers. They'd bring all that food up to us, so we'd have something, and potatoes. They'd dig the potatoes up and bring that, so they did a lot to help us, But I remember one time my father was out of work, and they had this thing called the WPA. I don't know what it stood for, but it was, they give men work, doing goofy jobs, and I remember one winter it was so cold, and my father got a job working on the road. I don't know what he was doing, and I can remember seeing him. They were all in a truck going someplace, and it was so cold. My father had this hat down around his ears, and I always felt so bad that he had to do that, to help us. But he did.